It's Monday, November 6th. I'm Geoff Schwartz. This is Geoff Schwartz this morning. You were live on Twitter and on YouTube, and we are on your favorite podcast platform of choice. We're brought to you by PrizePicks. It's a skill-based, real money daily fantasy sports game. Go to PrizePicks and use code GSSY for a first deposit match up to $100. You pick 2 to 6 players if they will go more or less than the PrizePicks projection. You can win up to 25 times your money in any entry. We're making my selections for the Monday Night Football game later in the show. It is a battle of Gabe's two favorite football teams, the Chargers and the Jets. The Jets, by the way, if they win tonight, guys, we'll talk about this game later. Full preview later. They'll be 5-3 with Aaron Rodgers back on the horizon very soon. It has been a good weekend for Gabe because his favorite football team did not play. They will play today. And his favorite football team also fired their defensive coordinator, Gabe. We'll get into all of that in a little bit. A great weekend of NFL action. How you doing, buddy?
I'm okay. I'm swatting away your multiple attempts to troll me just now, and I will just say that we can save time on the preview of that game. You have picks to make. The preview is Spider-Man meme. It's just East and West Coast versions of the same stupid team that I, for some reason, chose to root for. And yeah, Grinch is gone. He can no longer steal defense or whatever. But yeah, man, wild weekend of football. A lot to talk about.
Yeah. There's a lot to talk about. We always start in the NFL because that's what the show mostly does. We'll hit college football at the end of the episode, along with the PrizePicks projections for the Monday Night Football game. What do you want to start with, Gabe?
Well, let's start with the team that we often start with because this week they basically played the Super Bowl of the weekend. We all got up early and watched Dolphins Chiefs out of Germany. We were still belly laughing from all the hilarious press conference moments Mike McDaniel offered us. Boy, he was hilarious. It turns out the Dolphins just maybe aren't as good as the stats would suggest. I believe that McDaniel is a pretty good coach and Tua is a better quarterback than people give him credit for, but they can't beat good teams. It's taken them a year to beat a team with a 500 record, and they lost to the Chiefs again. So maybe let's be more realistic about them, Geoff?
So they're 6-0 this year against the Chargers, Patriots, Broncos, Giants, and Panthers. They played the Patriots twice. None of those teams will have a 500 record other than the Chargers, who have a chance to get there at some point this year, I feel like. They've outscored those 5 opponents 234 to 125, obviously very famously scoring 70 on the Broncos. They're 3-0 against the Bills, Eagles, and Chiefs. They're outscored 100 to 51 in those games, and really outside of the first couple drives against Buffalo and maybe the last 5 minutes of the Chiefs game, they weren't really close in those games, right? It never felt like at any point in those games they were really in the game. Now, they're obviously down 21-0 to Kansas City. At halftime, Kansas City, they tried their best to lose that game, but it's very clear the Dolphins sort of have we know what they are now, right? They have an MO. They are going to play well against bad teams, but until they fix their offensive line with health. Health is a problem there, right? They're having trouble against these physical defensive lines. And they have to find a way offensively to have sort of a second option. Tua is very good when his first guy is open. But what defenses have been able to do is say, we're not giving you your first guy. Can you find the second and third guy fast enough for your offensive line to hold up? And that's a problem for Tua at times. And their defense has not been as good as we thought with Vic Fangio. The Chiefs' issues are not really related to Miami, in my opinion. So they are what they are, which is good, have a lot of room for improvement, but they're not at all a contender right now for any sort of postseason success.
They'll get there and then they'll flame out. They're basically the Cowboys
I think
of the
so.
AFC.
I mean, I think they're 6-3. I don't see why they wouldn't. I mean, right now in the playoffs, they are, they're the head of the AFC East right now because Buffalo. I don't know what Buffalo is. They're 5-4, which is kind of wild to look at. Right now, the Jets, by the way, are ahead of Buffalo in the playoff standings in the AFC. Whew, how about that? So the Dolphins, they're good, not great. They have They have a bye as they come back from Germany. I had a buddy at the game, by the way. He said it was electric. The atmosphere looked. He said it was fun. A lot of fun there. It's Raiders, Jets, Commanders, Titans, Jets, Cowboys, Ravens, Bills. I mean, there's a possibility they have.
It's a lot of wins.
What, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11? I mean, they're 11 wins, at least minimum 10 wins playing Cowboys, Ravens, Bills to end the season. So Dolphins will be in the hunt for the top seed in the AFC. They won't get it, but they'll be close.
All right, let me throw this at you to drill into the game a little bit more X and O here. Tyreek Hill, obviously their first option, didn't do a whole lot. Pretty quiet game. And the theory I think a lot of dopes like me would have is, well, yeah, that's because the Chiefs coaching staff knows all his tricks. They know how to contain him. They who knows him better than Spags and that team. Is that real, or did he just have an off game?
What's real is the Chiefs' defense is really good. That's
Okay.
the real part, Gabe. It's not that they had an off game where they knew what to do versus someone else. It's just Chiefs' defense is really good. They're really good. They're top 5 defense in the NFL, and they've been the best part about this team through 9 weeks, which is crazy to say, right? I mean, whoever thought that we talk about the Chiefs' defense, the ability to draft and develop in the secondary and linebacker and the first level has been incredible. Like they have a bunch of guys that played a bunch last year as rookies. They're obviously showing much better in year 2, and they've stopped everything's better. They're stopping the run better, and they're without Bolton right now. And when you have when you bring pressure, a lot of times when you blitz, you require your secondary players to maybe hold up a little bit longer than usual because they tend to be a little bit more man coverage. But also, if the quarterback misses, if the defender misses the quarterback on this pressure, guys might be open. But also, when quarterbacks see pressure, they want to throw the ball quickly, and you have to have tight coverage so they don't throw the ball quickly. So both things have to align, right? Tight coverage allows your defense to get home. If they don't get home, you want to be able to play coverage. It kind of all ties together, right? Spagnuolo has those defensive backs to do this. He has defensive backs now that can play the man coverage to allow multiple guys, by the way, to pressure from either side, but also allow the defense to be in a good position if they do throw the ball quickly, which, again, you try to do that, but if tight man coverage, you can't. So if they hold the ball, it's a sack. Or if someone misses, you play good enough coverage to where you can't get burned, right? Like they do both things really well. And so he's kind of in his quote unquote bag, as the young kids say, in his bag, right? Where he just has a lot of things he's doing defensively to confuse teams because he has the personnel to do all of it. And that's without Chris Jones really doing terribly much the last couple of weeks. Like Chris Jones has not been the pass rusher he was last year, at least not in the playoffs. He's good, but bad penalty last weekend, or yesterday, I should say. I think the defense is just good, man. It's that simple. It's just a good defense.
All right. Yeah. And Pat, statistically at least, is not really separating himself from the pack, even of average quarterbacks. His numbers are just fine.
It's a weird offense because all the analytics put him in the top 5, EPA and DVOA, but I don't see it on when I watch him play. I don't see it on film. They're still missing something to wide receiver. Rashee Rice feels like he can be that guy, but he's still a rookie, and it's going to take some time. But the offense is just not – something missing a little bit from that. First drive was incredible. That scripted first drive was great. Six attempts, 6 different targets, and then sort of just like one more offensive touchdown. Just went flat in that game. Second half just wasn't very good. So still work to be done in the bye week. But again, I trust the Chiefs to figure out their offense. Like that feels like the least of any concern with Kansas City.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. I was watching the game, and one of the fun moments was when the German fans started singing Country Home. But that's a song about West Virginia. So do you think that Germans know as little about America as we know about Germany? Like I would just sing whatever German song I knew, and it might be about Frankfurt instead of Berlin or whatever.
Well, the question is it West Virginia or is it West Virginia?
What?
So have you heard that drunk guy who did at the bar doing this long? It's a big internet meme video where the guy was drunk and was like, "Is a song about West Virginia or the western part of Virginia?" It's incredibly funny. Yeah, he was trying to figure out as he was loaded at this bar whether or not the song was about the state of West Virginia or the western part of the state of Virginia. So never mind then. That one. Normally you get these references, Gabe. I'm surprised. I'm normally the pop culture guy doesn't get anything.
Yeah, I also might have said the name of the song wrong. I don't know. The point is, it was a cool crowd, and I was surprised to hear them get into it.
I like the official saying "false start" in German. Did you hear that?
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, he said "false start" in German, which was good. Playing to the crowd, I like it. Again, the crowd for an international game seemed way more like collegiate than I think we had
I
seen in
agree.
previous crowds at London and whatnot. So there's one more. I think there's another game in Germany this week.
Yeah.
I think it's like Patriots Bears. It's like a terrible game, right? Is it Patriots Bears or
Bears are part of
Patriots?
Thursday Night Football.
Oh, it's Patriots. Someone. It's
It
not
might be
great. Patriots
Bills.
Colts.
Colts.
Patriots Colts.
That's right.
Oh, nice. By the way, we went 3-2 again. We're 29,
Yeah.
13-3. Yeah.
Nice job on your picks. You are providing some winners. I would say stay away from the Giants from now on, please.
Oh, that's bad.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Let me stay in the AFC though. Good crowd. Crowd looked awesome on Sunday Night Football. Love what they did. Kind of a Halloween theme in Cincinnati. It worked. I don't think there's a whole lot of debate left about who like 1A or the second best team in the AFC is, at least at the quarterback position. So Burrow beats Allen. Seems pretty much to be back, and I guess we all have to worry about them again. Their division is pretty good, and I want to talk about the Ravens in a second, but starting to feel like the Bengals are where we wanted them to be and separating a bit from the pack, right?
Oh yeah, this is the Bengals are back. I mean, they've now shown, a pattern, right? Start slow for whatever reason, and then just finish much faster in November and December. And they beat the Niners, they beat the Bills, and both games weren't terribly close in the end. They played really well. Joe Burrow's escaping the pocket again. He's making the crazy plays with his legs, and the confidence in this team is back. Defensively playing well again. I mean, I think I don't know if the Chiefs get defaulted to be the best team in the AFC. I think the Bengals, Jacksonville, and Baltimore are playing better than Kansas City right now. Even though the Chiefs are 7-2 and have the 1 seed right now. They beat Jacksonville. They beat Miami. They will play Buffalo. They will play Cincinnati coming up. They have the Eagles, the Chiefs do in a couple of weeks. But the Bengals, the Ravens, and the Jaguars right now, I think easily have a claim to be the best team in the AFC.
Ravens, Jaguars. All right. So let me go to the Ravens for a second, who it could be another one of those seasons where we look up and they're just better than everyone. I heard a stat yesterday. All right. Lamar is now, I believe he's now 18-1 against NFC competition. So
sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have to ask, the next time we get a Lamar Jackson, a guy in his prime looking for a lot of money and considering leaving the team he's always played for, why isn't that guy just going to go to the NFC where it's Jalen Hurts and nobody versus the AFC where Lamar Jackson is like the 5th best quarterback?
Yeah.
Like what are we doing? Why is it so imbalanced right now?
Well, the NFC had a bunch of old quarterbacks and they're now gone, right? I mean, you look at Giants, Packers, Niners have been good at having been able to find a quarterback, right? Franchise quarterback now for many years. Cousins is now hurt. So now it's just like for a long period, you had these veteran quarterbacks that were good. And then the young guys just haven't panned out, right? I mean, Justin Fields hasn't panned out. Kyler Murray's been hurt this year. I'm sure missing, the whole South is a dumpster fire with Bryce Young. It looks like Bryce Young was probably the wrong choice over CJ Stroud at the moment right now. I mean, the second best quarterback in the NFC is, if you were to do a draft, if you were to do a draft, I think you would take Dak Prescott second of the NFC quarterbacks at the moment.
We're saying Jalen is clear number 1 in the NFC right now.
I think Jared Goff might be playing better than Dak Prescott. If that makes sense, right? I do think that Sam Howell has shown some signs of life in Washington.
Okay.
But yeah, it's pretty bad, right? I'm looking at it right now. You have Josh Dobbs, Jordan Love, and then whoever the Bears throw out there each week. Derek Carr, Taylor Heineke, Baker Mayfield, Bryce Young, Brock Purdy, Geno Smith, an injured Rams quarterback, and whatever the Cardinals throw out there. It's
Brett Rippon and Clayton Tune, I believe, is who we're talking about there.
But here's the thing: you're going to have Arizona and Chicago at the top of the draft this year taking new quarterbacks. You're going to have an ability to get Caleb Williams and Drake May into this, right? The Vikings very well could take a quarterback in the draft this year. Any of the NFC South teams outside of Carolina, Tampa Bay, Atlanta, New Orleans could definitely look for long-term answers. So we might have all the young quarterbacks making their way in the NFC conference, where we've recently seen almost all those in the AFC.
All right. Well, you mentioned the Vikings quarterback situation, and we're talking about no names. So let's talk about Josh Dobbs, who
Incredible.
probably people had just realized was the quarterback of the Cardinals. As soon as we noticed that, he gets traded to the Vikings to help them with depth. He's not even supposed to start this week without even practicing, without even knowing the names of all the guys on the offense. Josh Dobbs ends up in the game for the Vikings and leading this dramatic win. And then this video surfaces of him literally working out the cadence that he likes to use with his center and his offensive linemen around him before winning the game. It was pretty awesome video. It's kind of a hard thing to describe. So I'll just turn it over to you and say, how incredible is what Josh Dobbs did this weekend? From a dopey fan perspective, it seemed outrageously cool and hard to believe.
I can't say enough how cool this is. So
okay, cool.
Josh Dobbs gets traded to the Vikings on Tuesday as depth. Now, he might have been a thought to start at some point over Jaron Hall as Kirk Cousins tears his Achilles. Jaron Hall gets hurt in the first quarter. Dobbs has to come in. We learn after the game, and this is the way it works, right? The one starting quarterback gets all the reps, especially when the new quarterback just arrives on Tuesday. So we have the Dobbs comes in and plays on Sunday. Before he goes in the game, he has to go to the offensive line, ask them what the 5 cadences are for the game. Does not know the cadences. So the video you see is Josh Dobbs with the center and the offensive line going over the cadence, right? Said hut, 180, 180, said hut, right? Said hut, 180, 180, said hut, we're going on, said hut, all right, like he's going through all the cadences, right? The kill cadences, like he went through all 5 of them. And then he had to learn some of the teammates' names, which he said afterwards he doesn't know all the teammates' names and they were in the huddle. And one of the benefits of the coach to quarterback communication system is he can tell him the play call, but also sort of give Dobbs, you can talk up until 15 seconds left on the play clock. You kind of give Dobbs an idea of where to go with the ball. But Dobbs said he would go in the huddle and ask guys, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Now, again, like the thing about football is it can be very complicated at times. It can also be as simple as I'm running a go route, I'm running a curl, right? And Dobbs has played enough football to understand what those words mean, right? He's played enough football to understand what an empty protection is or what a 6-man protection is. And so if you piece those things together, you get what Dobbs did this weekend, which again, very hard to do. And it's because he's a veteran player who's played on 3 teams, I think in 44, like was it 44 days? Like that's some crazy number, or 44 months, something like that.
Like 5 teams in 6 months or something.
5 teams, 6 months, some insane number like that. So he's seen a lot of football. He's been around a lot of football. And it is it's pretty remarkable to see what he did this weekend and the way his teammates treated him after the game and the way it just was great, man. It was super cool. It's like one of those, those Disney movies, like just to have him come in and win that game like he did, not knowing exactly what to do, trying to learn things here and there. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's a bit of a NASA loves him because he's studied aerospace engineering, or I don't know. He's basically an astronaut. So they've adopted him as their own. And I'm wondering though if it's like the magic trick is as impressive or less impressive than like the plot of Apollo 13. Do you remember how Apollo 13 went, where they're stuck up there with barely any communication and they have to basically rebuild the rocket to like propel them around the moon and come back home safely? And all of Houston is like piecing it together in engineering for him and just feeding it into the Tom Hanks character so he can figure out a way to get back to Earth. And that seemed like what was happening with Dobbs. Like everyone comes together to be like, all right, man, I'm just going to do this. You got to snap it on 3. Then he's going to run the out. And they only have until that point where you said 15 seconds, it cuts off.
Yeah.
I mean, so why do we have to pretend that like football is so complicated sometimes? If you could just act that way all the time, why wouldn't every team win?
Well, but here's the reason why is because that works against the 27th ranked Falcons defense, right? Like that's why, right? Like, and it works sometimes, right? For the most part, it's like it looks like Tommy DeVito playing for the Giants right now, where it's just a complete dumpster fire, right? It doesn't look like that. And I would imagine next week, if he plays, it probably doesn't look that good next week. Like it just happened to be in this one game, a cool experience against a bad Falcons defense. If they do this against Kansas City, he would have got his ass kicked by Spags
Yeah.
defense. Against the Jets, he would have got his ass kicked. Like it's just happened to be against the Falcons in this moment. This is why I saw someone tweet out, well, this means so-and-so could have done this at quarterback position. It doesn't mean that. Doesn't mean that. I think it's just an isolated instance that was super cool. But in the end, your job is to win all the games. And this is one cool moment for Josh Dobbs and the Vikings. I'm glad we're able to talk about it and give him the credit he deserves. He's been putting some shit sandwich. He was traded to Arizona right before the season, traded to the Vikings right before. And like, he has earned himself a job for 10 more years, Gabe. Like, he will have a job as long as he wants the NFL because of what he's able to do. Because like you're saying, when you put a backup in, you don't want to look stupid as a coach, that the backup doesn't know what they're doing. And two, you just want a guy who's reliable. They might not be a good player. They're reliable. They're not going to have fuck-ups. They're not going to have mental mistakes. They're not going to get someone hurt. Josh Dobbs checks all those boxes. And plus, it seems like he's a great dude. Guys, he's a leader. And so he'll have a job, man. He'll never be a franchise guy probably, but he'll have a job for 15 years as a quarterback. Like, good for him.
Yeah. Josh McCown is basically what he is. Forget Dobbs. He's a McCown brother now.
Chase Daniel. He's probably better than Chase Daniel. He's a Josh McCown. It's probably a good way to look at it. Who's also a quarterback coach out of the Panthers, I think. I think he's here in Carolina.
Yeah, all the McCowns are coaching now. I wonder this though. Since this weekend was one of the worst I've ever seen with starting quarterbacks or guys who got in and played meaningful time. And yet also people are complaining about, too many roughing the passer calls and, it being a flag football league now. Do we need even more rules to protect quarterbacks? Because, fine, Josh Dobbs, great moment, good for you. But no one's paying to go see Josh Dobbs play against Brett Rippon or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a bad year for injuries.
Just fluky thing, or?
Yeah, I mean, look, you have two quarterbacks who tore their Achilles, which is probably unlikely to happen in most years.
Okay.
Daniel Jones tore his ACL now. And then even teams like, Mahomes as they have not been as good this year. Jalen Hurts is a little beat up. It's been one of those years where, Anthony Richardson, who had a spark for the Colts early on, he's hurt. It just got a lot of guys. The Titans are putting guys in and out. It's a bad year for injuries, man. And then you have the South, NFC South, who doesn't even care to have a good quarterback. So that's part of the season. Sometimes you just have injuries.
Yeah, I heard an idea once that there should just be like a rotating backup quarterback pool, and there should just be better people who can, like, the Josh Dobbs would be the head of this list, right? And Taylor Heineke belongs in this group. We just don't need to have three guys who stink. By the way, every team should have a Taysom Hill. I don't want to argue that with you. Everyone should have their own Taysom Hill. Save your problems by putting Taysom Hill in the game as your emergency quarterback. It'll be fine. Let's talk about a quarterback who looks really good. I know you're just nodding. You don't like that idea. Let's talk about CJ Stroud. So the easy take, right, is, oh my God, the Panthers screwed up. We sort of alluded to it earlier. Yeah. They should have taken CJ instead of Bryce. I don't know if it's that simple, but what do you make of CJ Stroud airing it out like crazy? Had a great game this weekend, has a winning record now. And the stat everyone's pointing to is he has more touchdown passes already than Kenny Pickett has in his career. A lot more games. What do you think of CJ Stroud?
All right. So when we talked about Stroud this offseason, heading into the draft, there were two questions, really just two questions, but ended up being just one question, which was, which CJ Stroud are we going to get? Are we going to get the one that had like 20 starts at Ohio State, that sort of stood in the pocket, a little bit stiff, not saying he's not an athlete, but kind of stiff in the pocket, not very creative, a little bit of a long wind up, looking for the deep shot all the time? Or are we getting the Georgia game quarterback who played Georgia in the playoff game and played the exact opposite way he played Ohio State his entire career, which was, I'm going to be the playmaker. I'm going to be the best player on the field in this game. I'm going to use my legs. I'm going to be confident. I'm going to be the man. So the question was, Gabe, which game are we getting? We getting the 20 other games or the Georgia game?
Right.
We've gotten the Georgia game. This reminds me of Justin Herbert, who there was a time in Eugene, it was like, and then you look at the Rose Bowl and you're like, oh, okay, Justin, you run the ball a little bit more, throw the ball down the field, and you got that Justin Herbert, and you have gotten that CJ Stroud so far, a confident thrower of the football who can move his legs, use his legs, to move in the pocket and make plays down the field. We knew he had a big arm. We saw it at Ohio State. He looks fantastic, man. It's very clear too that a lot of times coaching hires get hyped up. I'm sure that could be wrong at some point about this, but like D'Amico Ryans was like, he's the greatest young coach, blah, 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 like, I think me and you are on the more of like the skeptical side of like all that praise early on. Like, hold on a second. We don't know.
Yeah.
He seems like he's a good football coach. Like D'Amico, he seems like he's like, his team is playing better each quarter of the season, which is a young football team. You kind of take it by like 4-week stretches. And Gabe, you're going to love this. Their backup running back made a field goal for them in this game. Eliminate kickers. They eliminated the kicker, Gabe. It cost us a cover. We had Texans minus 2.5. They scored to go ahead at the end. They won by 2, but did not kick the extra point because they didn't have a kicker. So it cost us the cover, but a running back made a kick for the Texans, Gabe.
I noticed. I was waiting to have my chance to bring it up. What? Like, obviously, I'm going to butcher this man's name, Dare Agunbowale, who made that kick.
Yeah, he nailed it too, like right down the middle.
Yeah, first position player to hit a kick in a regular season game since Wes Welker did it back in 2004. Didn't remember that, but
wait, Justin Reed made an extra point, didn't he, for the Chiefs?
It might have been an extra point. I think this was a field goal.
No, it was.
The point is, an athlete can learn how to kick a football, and we got a lot of athletes out there, so let's let them do it instead of having a bunch of guys who aren't any good at football specialize in kicking and taking up roster spots. We don't need it. Taysom Hill could probably kick some field goals if we asked him to. Let me ask you this with CJ Stroud. Every week, a different guy has a huge game at receiver or tight end in Houston. And for fantasy players, this is a real nightmare because just as soon as I learn who somebody is, then the other guy is the one who has the big game, right? So I'd heard of Robert Woods. Tank Dell's there. Nico Collins is there. Some guy named Noah something or other. I didn't even recognize the name. Obviously, Schwartz, the tight end. There's a lot of guys catching a lot of passes from CJ Stroud. Is that just how he likes to play? Like, if you look at him on tape, that's what he did at Ohio State. Is that just how it's going to be forever with him?
That's what you should do, though. You should spread it around. You throw it to the guy who's open. Like,
right.
I mean, he doesn't have a Devontae Adams to force the ball to, or Justin Jefferson, right? I mean, right. So throw the ball to the guy that's open. This is what he's done. By the way, this is what he's done so well in his early career. He just throws to the open guy. Like,
you make it sound very simple.
I mean, that's a simple part of playing the sport. Throw to the guy that's open. Like, I mean, you have to know who that guy is, obviously, and a lot of that is pre-snap work. But a lot of quarterbacks just don't throw to the open guy. He doesn't care. He throws to the guy who's open. That's just great. It's fantastic football.
All right. Well, let's talk about a team then who cannot throw to the open guy who is also the best player until yesterday when they finally started to figure some things out. The Raiders. So they finally fired Josh McDaniels. And there's a million ways we can go with this. You know which way I'm going to go with it. The Patriot way is officially dead, Geoff. Being a jerk, it just doesn't work. Nobody likes it. Yeah. Antonio Pierce steps in. They blow out the Giants.
Yeah.
You know, everyone's happy. Josh McDaniels is hanging around. He's apparently part of the reason he's fired is for defending the Patriots back from when they, played the Giants in the Super Bowl years ago.
Okay. So have you seen PFT commenters? He does every now and then. He pretends that he has
exclusive from the Athletic.
Athletic. Okay. He does. He says he has an Athletic Premium Plus subscription. He puts out like the most insane story, but he does it in the font of the Athletic stories.
Yeah.
Of the 11, so it looks real. Okay. He did it one last week for something. He does it 4 times a year. It's incredible.
I got that one sent to me by a bunch of friends who don't work in the industry. And I was like, guys, it's not real. This is a bit he does.
Okay. Nonetheless, the Jay Glazer report that Antonio Pierce got up and said, like, you have to play with some sort of like grit determination. You can win every single game, no matter the odds. Look at what we did as the 07 Giants against the Patriots. Obviously, McDaniels was and McDaniels defended the Patriots, got angry about that. Okay. That if PFT commenter had put that out as his Athletic Premium article, that would be just as believable. Yeah. Like, I cannot believe that's an actual thing that happened in the NFL with grown men. I don't know what, like, and the Raiders win obviously was the Giants, when Daniel Jones got hurt, that was it for them. But that probably just felt like cathartic to not have, Josh McDaniels there. It was very clear. It was talked. The other report came out that said they had sort of a come to Jesus meeting on Thursday, and they asked McDaniel to be more hands off, like stop berating everyone. Supposedly he like took it to heart. So practice was very weird because McDaniels was not like correcting people as he had been in the past, which the report read like you guys asked him to not do this and he didn't do that. Then it was weird. Like he followed your opinion. He followed your advice, players. Like, stop berating us. So it's a wreck, man. Like, I'm glad that era's over with. He'll never be a head coach again. He's been one of the worst head coaches in NFL history. He has not made it through even 2.5 years, I think, in any of the 1.5 years, any of the places he's been at. He's just done as a head coach. He's not a good head coach. No one will hire him again.
Yeah, he seems like he's going to end up either working for Nick Saban or his buddy Bill Belichick again. And meanwhile, Belichick is stinking it up, and people are talking about him leaving or them tanking. I think just being an old crank doesn't work, or being a guy who's a total jerk to everyone with earning none of it. Bill Belichick at least has the rings. Like, you got to put up with him. This guy's just a schmuck.
When Belichick goes to coach the Chargers next season, how are you gonna treat that?
Nah, it's okay. I've barely ever been a Chargers fan. I can just stop being a Chargers fan. It's no big deal. Let me ask you this. Here's an interesting idea. If I'm the Raiders, if I'm Mark Davis, right? I think every now and then, like, just surprise everyone. Coach is fired. Instantly, I got a winning team. It seems to keep working. They get rid of John Gruden, where Spitakia steps in. They go to the playoffs. They dump McDaniels. Now Antonio Pierce is the coach. Everyone's happy. They're having the best game of the year. Why not?
Yeah. So he's got to get rid of Pierce and bring someone else in. I mean, look, the coaching bump seems to happen for 1 week. The question is now week 2, right? Like, what happens? And I looked already, like, I was going to fade them, just automatically fade them this week, but they play the Jets next week, and I'm not doing that. So that was going to be a fade I was going to do, but I can't do that anymore.
All right. Well, that's a nice tease, because we do have to talk about the Monday night game. We got to give people some ideas for how to fill things out before the game tonight. We also probably should touch college football for a second. So let's take a very, very quick break. If you're watching live, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. If you're listening, here's your break. We'll be back on the other side with Monday Night Football and college football. All right, Geoff, we are back. Geoff Schwartz, you are still smarter than me and most of us.
Maybe.
This would have been a fun week to talk about the team you played for and love, and the team that I root for, and I can't tell if I love or not. But my team's terrible, and my quarterback's crying and falling out of the number 1 spot, and your team is ascending to playoff futures. So Oregon, USC, not as exciting as it should have
been. No. It will not be. Well, maybe not for you. It'll be exciting for me. The problem with this Oregon USC game, buddy, is it's going to be at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, and your boy over here in the East Coast is going to struggle with that one. No, look, the story is Alex Grinch got fired, USC's defense coordinator. It was about time. USC's defense was historically bad. And, Gabe, I'm not a petty person, really. I don't need people to tell me that I'm right. But I haven't got any USC fans to tell me I was right yet. I haven't got the same ones that told me all offseason, USC's going to do this and that. Oregon sucks, and Dan Lanning can't coach defense, and blah, 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 blah. I was right again. Shocker. I'm right again. When you want to be good on defense, NFL, college, it has to be intentional, right? Same on offense. I'm not saying anything you don't know. The Chiefs, we talk a lot about the Chiefs in this. They were intentional with going to draft defensive football players to be better at defense, right? They were intentional with doing that, okay? Lincoln Riley is not intentional about being good on defense. He's not. He doesn't recruit high school football players, especially on the defensive lines. Doesn't do that. For whatever reason, USC fans claim they don't pay high school players. It's the funniest thing of all time. Oh, we don't pay high school players. Oh, what about the 5-star quarterback that just committed to you guys? You don't pay him at all. He just showed up at USC for free. Everyone else is getting paid around here, but your boy just shows up for free. Okay, sure. Whatever you want to say. You don't pay guys. Whatever. They don't practice like they need to practice to be a physical football team. Their guys on the defensive line are small. Oregon's offensive line this weekend is going to do mean things to USC's defense. Like USC's defense is small. They're tiny. They're tiny. Look at them on film. They're tiny. They're small. You have to be intentional with wanting to be good, and they're not intentional with wanting to be good in defense. On the other side, Oregon was intentional. They brought in 10 new defensive linemen, 9 high school kids, and 1 transfer from South Carolina. Like, they're intentional with wanting to be better on defense. USC is not. That's why USC is here right now. And it's, look, Oregon's going to win. I think Oregon's one of the better teams in the country. I have not said this in a long time. I think Oregon is a playoff team, and I think if things break right, they could be in the championship game. I think they're that good this year, and I never thought I'd say this, but Bo Nix might win the Heisman. He's really good. He's playing like, I mean, obviously it's going to come down to the probably the Pac-12 championship game, but whoever wins that game will win the Heisman. But I put out a video of all the throws he made against Cal. It's really good. Right now him and Michael Penix have the same odds to win the Heisman.
Yeah, I was going to say
it would have been
Bo Nix versus Penix. It's kind of fun to say.
It would have been. It would have been. We get it, buddy.
You do?
So immature.
Say it again.
Father of 3, just immature, business owner, and all you think about
got him.
is it? Touche. I didn't actually, so I have to joke about that another time. Look, Oregon's going to win. Oregon's really good. Washington's really good. It's nice to have Pac-12 football for one last season be really good. I will tell you what, though, Gabe, don't look now. Alabama's still really good.
Yeah, I know.
There's going to be it's going to be interesting because Alabama, Texas, Washington, Oregon, Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State. I mean, that feels like the 4 playoff teams are coming from that group of teams. But Bama, man, like they're just stiff and tough, man.
You're right,
Zombie
dude.
Bama.
I quite literally nap on them. Like they're just, for some reason, their games just haven't felt interesting to me. And that's like a CBS game that I'm like, kids are kind of quiet for a few minutes. This is the time when I'm going to kind of lay here and read something and kind of fall asleep. This game doesn't really interest me. But I think the whole country is doing that. And by the time they've had, 10, 12 weeks of a quarterback, and they're scary. They're going to be scary. You know who's not scary? Texas. You know who's not scary anymore? Colorado. We'll talk about them when they can figure their stuff out.
Very quickly on Colorado. I know you want to avoid this subject, but give me 2 minutes. This is my podcast.
I want to avoid it. You were right. Take a victory lap.
Here's the thing. So when we look back on this season, the Colorado win against TCU will be the one we look back and say that changed the entire narrative of the sport this year, right? Colorado upsets TCU. Yeah. 2 things are true. Colorado is better than we thought. TCU is far worse than we thought. Both those things are true, right? They're both true. Yep. But if I told you that Colorado was going to finish 4-8, which they're likely to finish, after 1-11, you'd be like, great, that's fantastic. The problem is how they're finishing, right? They're not getting any better. And when you have a team like Colorado that's basically a brand new team, you want to see that improvement each and every week. And all they've done is backslide to the point where now Deion's firing the OC, who the OC, by the way, Sean Lewis, has been great at Kent State. Like he knows how to call offense. So the thing that worries me is that, they have adversity, and the first thing to do was fire your OC and blame your offensive line. Like it doesn't feel like there's a lot of inward, like, what do I got to fix? It's what do you have to fix? Like, what do you have to fix? And coach, like you brought that offensive lineman in. They're all your guys except the center. Those are you guys you brought in. They're transfer portal boys you brought in, high school boys you brought in. You hire Sean Lewis. That's your problem. And it seems like there's a lot of deflection on whose fault it is at Colorado. When things were growing great, I'll take the credit. Things are going poorly. It's the OC's fault. It's the offensive line's fault. It's the DC's fault. It's this one's fault, that fault. The Pac-12's putting on too late at night. It's everyone else's fault except my fault. Game management, which he did apologize for, has been terrible all season. It seems that they've learned it all in any situation. The game management has been atrocious. It seems a lot of finger pointing, buddy. Gabe, not buddy to Dion, but a lot of finger pointing, and not a lot of finger pointing back to the head coach.
Yeah, I think that feels accurate. This is just the literal definition of the word. I don't mean this in the pejorative. Like, I think if you have a narcissist, famously and delightfully, as your head coach, a guy who sees the entire world sort of through his own lens and can lead a lot of people to a lot of good places that way. I mean, Dion does a lot of good. But yeah, I don't think he has the perspective that you're saying he would need in order to fix some of that stuff. So you get the good with the bad. I mean, this is true in all walks of life.
By the way, Deanna's done a good job this year.
Yeah,
but it's just
but there's a limit. If you think you are the beginning and end of everything, then there's a limit to what you can accomplish. All right. Well, let's talk about the Monday night game, because I'd like not really to talk about these teams, but I would like some good prize picks advice. I think you've been making me a little bit of money, so I want to make some more.
Yeah. So we do this.
What are you expecting tonight?
We do this every Monday night for the Monday football game. It's our prize pick segment. I'm doing a 3 square entry tonight. You can build a 2 to 6 square entry. Use the promo code Geoff to get 100. Excuse me. Promo code is GSSY, $100 match deposit. And here's what I'm doing. Here's what I'm thinking for tonight. Okay, we're gonna play a couple things here. We're gonna play Justin Herbert more than 8.5 rush yards, because the Jets pressure a lot, play a lot of man coverage. Herbert's going to have to escape. 8.5 yards is not a lot. That's one big rush on third down. Now, I'm curious about his finger and whether or not he's going to try to run the ball, doesn't want to get hit, but I think he's going to have to at some point in this game. So only 8.5 yards, more than 8.5 yards. In that same vein, I have Austin Eckler more than 30.5 receiving yards because of the screen game. When you play a lot of man coverage, throw a screen, one block, just the offensive lineman to block one guy, boom, out the gate, right? Especially, and also a lot of the pressure. Eckler's a dump off guy, like boom, just dump off. Breece Hall more than 56.5 rushing yards tonight. Chargers run defense, not been good under Brandon Staley. The Jets want to run the football. They want to protect Zach Wilson at quarterback. So that's what I'm questionable on. That's one the other two I feel great about. But I have Breece Hall more than 56.5 rush yards tonight. I have this game being tied with 3 minutes left, because every Chargers game is tied with 3 minutes left. If you, Gabe, as a hardworking person who earns their own money, you or anyone else, it could be anyone listening to this show, if you put your money tonight on the Los Angeles Chargers to win or cover this game, that's your fault. You've thrown your money away, because the Chargers are not the wager to make in this game. And if you do, you're throwing your hard-earned money away. I would not want you to do that. You bet on the Jets or nothing else tonight. Nothing else tonight, Gabe. Jets or nothing else. That's it. It's the only wager you can make.
Well, I love your square with your I
like it too.
Players. I like that entry. I think that's fun. I think the logic is sound. I would also be the most nervous about the Breece Hall. But coming back to your overall game pick, I think you're an absolute moron if you allow yourself, I don't care what the against the spread says, I don't care what the numbers say, if you allow yourself to let an evening of your week be dictated by the New York Jets, you are a fool. Okay?
Nick just texted us and said Chargers minus 17.5 at plus 500. Yeah, no, Nick. That's a hard no. Gabe,
minus 17. What the hell? You'd have to. How would you tease it to there? Like, that's nuts.
You can pick an alternate line. You could do that. Like, I took alternate. I took USC Washington over 91.5 at plus 230.
Yeah, that's smart.
These
two teams are the ultimate one-score teams. Like, this is a one-score game, and I think it goes the other way. I think in the competition for who can be dumber, I think that the Jets will always lose that competition. They will embarrass themselves.
Well, the Giants lost against them 2 weeks ago. Very quickly, before we get out of here, how many minutes do we have to watch Aaron Rodgers warm up for tonight to tease us about?
That's going to be the most interesting part of this game. What are you talking about? That's all I want to watch.
Wait, are you in on Aaron Rodgers coming back to play this season?
I'm in on interesting, Geoff. And you know what isn't interesting? Zach Wilson. So, yeah, I want to see how soon can this guy inject whatever the hell he injected into his ankle and get the hell back out on the field.
Gabe, you need to do an intervention with Nick. He has bet way too much money on the Chargers in this game. He has sent me his bet slip, all of us his bet slip. I have a real concern about his gambling problem.
Well,
We need
listen,
to have an
that's
intervention.
part of why he helps produce this show is so that we can win people money, making smart picks, putting together intelligent squares with prize picks. This is you got some good brains behind the scenes. You don't want casuals. You want people who live and die by this stuff.
Not the one who's taken 4 adjusted line wagers on the Chargers tonight.
Wow. Is Wemby playing tonight? Can I watch the MVP? I don't want to watch the Jets.
Dude, your Trojans are playing tonight in basketball. First game of the year. Kansas State? No, Bronny James?
Oh, my Trojans. Yeah.
The Trojans are playing tonight. Kansas State, they're playing in Vegas. The late game tonight, I think it's 9 Eastern, I think, right? Oregon plays first, Oregon, Georgia, and then it's going to be USC. No Bronny James tonight? Bronny Jr. tonight?
Can you just lock me in here? Give me my square one last time. Tell me how to do it again. And then I want to go home so I can get ready for a terrible Monday Night Football game that involves 2 teams that have broken my heart for my whole life.
You go to Prize Picks, 2 to 6 square entry. You can choose 2 to 6. I do 3 most of the time. I like doing 3. Promo code GSSY, match deposit up to $100. You choose more or less, right? More or less than what the projection is. So here we go. Justin Herbert more than 8.5 rushing yards tonight. The Jets pressure a bunch. They play a bunch of man coverage. There's middle field be wide open. In the same vein, Austin Eckler more than 30.5 receiving yards. Screen game, dump offs. I like that. Breece Hall, the Jets running back, more than 56.5 rushing yards against the Chargers run defense that's kind of sketchy. And the Jets, we know, run the football. One big gain here to get me more than this. That's where with my Prize Picks entry for tonight. I like it. Let's watch some football tonight. This might be a game that I fall asleep at halftime. I'm not going to lie.
All the games that matter are ones that you fall asleep early in. So let's not.
No, I watched the Bengals Chiefs, Bills to finish last night.
Okay, all right, good for you.
Thank you. I
Geoff,
appreciate it.
Been fun talking football with you as always.
Yes.
Thank you for making me smarter. And,
we're back on Friday. Can we take a bet on whether Matt's going to join me on Friday? What do you think?
No,
not yet.
No, man.
Oh, it's 1 hour. It's 1 hour. They're fine. He can do 1 hour of his Friday.
Look,
I'm going to try to convince him to do 1 hour on Friday.
As the head of HR at the company he works at, I advise him to take all the time that he needs.
Oh, he can take all the time he needs. I'm just saying that, like, an hour might be good for him on Friday to talk about football. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it might be, but
yeah, you know. we were texting. Look, we went 3-2. We texted this week about it. I'm very happy for him. It's fun. It's very quick. Not even a parent.
I'm 4 out of 5 with nothing but the Chargers to cash this week.
I'm not gonna rip off Bill Simmons' parent corner here, but getting the text from Matt about being a new father is it's the best because it's exactly like the same things all of us went through. It's just great. I'm like, yep, that sounds about right. Good luck. Talk to you in 2 years when it gets better, buddy. Have a good one.
Yeah, he sent me something on Instagram at like 2 a.m. or whatever, and I was like, yeah, this is what happens. You're gonna see the bottom of the internet every night for the next 9 months, and then for 2 years after that, you aren't gonna know a single freaking thing that happens in the world ever. You're never going to know anything anymore. So just soak in all the information now while you're stuck in the room with your phone, because then as soon as this thing's walking, you're effed. It's over.
I texted him this morning at 6:30 when I woke up and said, as I knew he'd be awake probably, and I said 3-2, buddy, good job. He goes, and he texted me a couple hours later. He goes, I was awake when I got that text. I go, I know you were. That's why I texted you, because I knew you'd be awake. Yeah, for about 4 more months, you'll be awake in all hours of the night. So congratulations to Matt. So Friday we'll do something Friday. We'll have a guest on. We'll figure it out. But we'll get back to you guys then. Enjoy Monday Night Football. Talk to you guys on Friday. Peace.